Yes, please come.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yaswanthkumar Reddy.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Sir, my name is Yaswanthkumar Reddy. I am from Kurnool district of Andhra Pradesh. I have completed my graduation from JNTU Kakinada with a degree in computer science and engineering. After that, I have joined Indian Oil Corporation Limited and worked for 2 years.
Joined where?
Indian Oil Corporation Limited.
Indian Oil?
Yes.
That is not reflected. Oh, yes, it is there.
And worked as information systems officer for 2 years.
Okay.
During that time, I wrote group 1 examination of APPSC and got state third rank and was allotted to the commercial taxes department. As of now, I am working as assistant commissioner of state taxes at Kurnool.
You joined in 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have worked almost 3 years there?
Yes, sir.
Very good. You start with Dr. Sinha.
Yes, sir.
You like watching web series? Okay. What have you watched? Tell us.
So I have watched Grey's Anatomy,
Acha.
Suits, Mentalist, Scorpion.
Okay. But a lot of concerns are being raised about web series and the kind of impact it is having on society. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
What is it? Tell us.
So web series as such doesn't have a standard censorship platform. So because of that, the kind of content that is there in web series is not being controlled by any ways. So because of that, customers from all ages have unrestricted access to content, irrespective of the content within, like child pornography, acts like terrorism, violence, etc. And also few instances where communal sentiments are also hurted.
Okay. So what can be done?
Sir, as such, the government has recently come up with a plan for three-tier hierarchical soft touch censorship mechanism. Apart from that, sir, we can use technological means like parental locks so that the content will be available based on the age. Further, if there is any content with violence or any such, then we need to give a skip button. And for that, detailed description should be there within the platform.
Okay. So this parental lock, it is all part of that law. But self-regulation, will it work?
Yes, sir, definitely when there are strict standard protocols and guidelines, clear guidelines, then definitely self-regulation will work.
That will work. Okay. You tell me, Andhra Pradesh, your state, has started a new thing, having 3 capitals. What is the idea behind this?
So the basic idea was formed because of the historical and political and regional reasons. Firstly, Andhra has lost 3 capitals historically during bifurcations. Firstly, Chennai, then Kurnool and Hyderabad. In all the instances, Andhra was the disadvantage because the development was concentrated in the capital itself. Further, the northern part of Andhra and southern part of Andhra are relatively very backward compared to the middle part. And we have seen in India that the capitals act as growth pullers by investments in both social and economic infrastructure.
So, but won't it be very inconvenient for people? Like, nowhere else you have such kind of division. One of the reasons is that people will be running from one place to another. For a high court, you go somewhere else. If you want to meet the minister, you go somewhere else. So, is it workable or just a Tughlaqi idea?
Sir, as such, there was a report by BCG that tells that around 95% of people visiting CM office are going there only because of CM relief fund. Now the administration for that CM relief fund was decentralized to constituency level. Further, a new initiative was taken up called a Grama Sachivalayam system, where around 500 plus services are made available to people at village level itself. So the need for people to go to capital, that is being reduced itself. And further, the kind of technological developments we are seeing now, the kind of virtual meetings, etc. So with that, the need of meeting people gets reduced.
So, in effect, you support it.
Yes.
You tell me, last question. Have you heard of the term wolf warrior diplomacy?
Sir, I have heard about it, but I am unable to remember it exactly what it is.
You have not heard. Okay. Have you heard of the term pandemic diplomacy? Have you heard?
I haven't heard, sir, but I can tell about it.
You haven't heard, but you can tell.
Yes, I mean,
You haven't heard, but you can tell.
if you permit, sir, I will tell.
Achha. Tell. Okay.
Sir, pandemic diplomacy is utilizing the opportunities created by pandemic, like the kind of scarcity of resources and the need of medical devices, etc.
Okay.
So to develop international relations and to strengthen the position of a nation at international level.
So, is India involved in this?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
India has.
Yes, sir.
Give us some examples.
Sir, for example, recently in the recent COVID situation, there was scarcity of vaccines all over, and specifically a country called Paraguay. It was not having vaccines. It was dependent on imports, and China has put a condition that Paraguay should de-recognize Taiwan to get vaccines.
Okay, let's put it in context of India. What about India?
So then
In
India
our neighborhood.
Okay.
In our neighborhood, you tell me where India has given and how it has worked. Has it worked? Not worked? Tell me.
So India has given as a grant to both Bhutan and Maldives, and apart from that, it has exported to Bangladesh also, and in the starting around 6.5 crore vaccines were exported. Most of them were to neighbors. I think it has worked because when we were suffering from the second wave, we have seen plunge of aid flowing all over from the world because of the actions we have did during this.
Okay, so it has worked.
Yes.
But you think it is morally right for India to give out vaccines to other countries when our own population doesn't have enough and we are unable to give to our population the second dose? Is it right?
As such, at the time when this vaccine diplomacy was going on, there was no standard assessment done on the second wave. So the government was not predicting that second wave will hit this much rigorously. So because of that, they have focused on balancing the need to ensure international support in this pandemic time. Because pandemic anywhere is a threat to everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yaswanthkumar,
Sir.
you are working as a assistant commissioner
Yes.
in the state tax department. Now you are implementing GST,
Yes, sir.
but prior to GST, what did you have, VAT or sales tax?
VAT, sir. AB VAT.
VAT. Okay. Now what is the difference between GST and VAT?
Sir, can I remove the mask, sir, if you permit?
No. You must learn to speak from behind the mask.
Yes, yes. This mask is a bit uncomfortable.
You can lower it a bit.
Yes.
Lower it a bit. Well, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Sir, earlier VAT was state-specific act. So the kind of seamless flow of ITC which we are seeing now, when we sell goods from one state to another state, that was not there in the earlier. And further, the rate of tax, that was also decided by states independently. So there was issues of...
That I understand.
Yes.
But I want to know what is the big advantage in having GST.
Sir, it is basically the kind of tax on tax. The effect was nullified with GST because earlier after excise was added.
In VAT also you are taxing only value addition.
Actually, what is happening during VAT is, first the central excise will be added at the manufacturing point. After that, on the entire amount, VAT was being levied. So effectively, on the central excise tax part also, VAT was being levied, resulting in cascading effect of taxes. Further, apart from that,
That is cascading effect of center and state tax.
yes, sir.
But if it is within the state, then
Sir, if it is the sale within the state also, central excise is being levied to the manufacturing part, sir. Cascading effect will be there. And further, when goods are transported from one state to another state, there were checkposts. So they need to take transit passes. That was a bit inconvenient logistically. In GST, the logistics efficiency was increased by around 20% as per the statement of Honorable Finance Minister. And further, there is a seamless flow of ITC. Because of seamless flow of ITC between the states.
ITC.
Input tax. So because of that, the companies are able to effectively, make their operations.
very good. Now tell me, why has petrol been kept outside? You have worked in Indian Oil also. You know the petrol pricing formula. Why has petrol been kept outside and what is the taxation in petrol at the moment?
So as such, petrol is left outside the GST taxation regime because presently the rate of tax in petrol is around 60 to 65%. When we mix both central taxes and state taxes, it is the major part of revenue earner for states, and that is the only point where states have leftover autonomy to increase or decrease the tax rates. So because of that, states are not willing to go off their power.
No, they have surrendered their autonomy and everything else. Why petrol only?
Sir, presently, sir, when we come to AP, the total GST revenues are around 19,000 crore. The revenue from VAT on petrol, it itself is 18,000 crore. 18,000 crores, sir.
Out of 19?
No, sir. GST revenue is 19,000 crore. VAT on petrol is additionally 18,000 crore.
Okay.
So the amount of GST on altogether all other products is equal to the VAT on petrol.
So because the collection is very high,
Yes.
you don't want to lose the revenue.
Yes, because the maximum tax rate in GST is 28% itself. So if we bring that into GST net, the revenue collections of state will fall drastically. So going further, there are discussions recently in the 43rd GST Council.
Okay. Now tell me, what do you mean by inverted duty structure?
So inverted duty structure is a specific instance where the inputs are taxed at a higher rate than the output. Because of that, either ITC gets accumulated or otherwise people prefer to import the final good rather than producing domestically.
And what is reverse charge?
So generally the GST is paid by the the supplier of services or goods, but in reverse charge mechanism, that responsibility was kept on the recipient of services or goods. So there are specifically two cases where the company, a registered company, need to pay RCM on the services it gets from unregistered company or otherwise on specific products like cashew nuts, etc. So 9.3 and 9.4 rule of GST.
All right. Now different topic. Your government was cancelling many power contracts. Do you think that was wise? When the new government took over, they were busy cancelling many power contracts. Do you think that was a wise policy?
So as such, the price of power, it was agreed for around 15 to 20 years in power purchase agreements regarding renewable projects. the price was around 5 rupees and it was economically competitive at that time when the agreement was made. But with recent advancement, the price got reduced around 2.5 rupees. So I think the step of government cancelling is not very prudent economically because it lessens the confidence of investors on the government, and further it is a backlash to the renewable sector, which is one of the growth pillar of AP's economy.
But when you cancel contracts like this, then investors would be dissuaded from coming to your state. They have no surety of that your government will keep its promises.
Yes, sir, I think that the government was the government was in a rush to do that. I think the government would have went for amicable settlement where they would have discussed with the power sector so that they can come at a medium.
No, it's not only that. When the tariffs were agreed upon, was there any corruption perceived in that? Because surely your government would have gone into details and seen whether the price of power agreed upon was prudent or not.
Sir, as such, there is no proven committee report or any investigation based on that.
My question is this. Today you invest in a power plant with the technology which is existing as on date. 2 years later, new technology comes and power becomes cheaper. So what is my fault? I have installed a power plant and I am giving you power at an agreed rate of rupees 5 as you say. Tomorrow someone else can produce at rupees 3 because he is setting up a new plant with new technology. What is my fault? You are cancelling my contract.
So definitely there is no fault from the part of power producers. But going forward, we can have a clause that if any such technological advancement arises and the company is also utilizing them, and for them if the cost reduces, then definitely there can be a clause that you also should reduce price.
That would be very difficult to compute. Whether the new technology has been utilized and what is its impact. In a new plant you can perhaps compute, but in an existing plant it will be very difficult. It is easier said than done. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yashwant, sir, you come from Telangana?
No, sir, Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra Pradesh, sorry. Okay, yes. Now, Kuchipudi, where does it belong to? Andhra Pradesh or Telangana?
So as such, it belongs to both the states, but majority of the famous personalities in Kuchipudi, they are from Andhra Pradesh.
But the main center for Kuchipudi is in Hyderabad, Telangana, right?
Sorry, sir, I am unaware of that. I will read about it.
Okay, no, now I'm asking you, you don't know.
No, sir.
Where is the village from where Kuchipudi originated?
Pardon.
All right, anyway, it's an interesting thing, contest between the two states. Now, you have done computer science and engineering.
Yes, sir.
What do you know about the artificial intelligence? Can you explain to me?
Sir, artificial intelligence is the sum of technologies using which we can have cognitive abilities to machines, so that they can do the tasks earlier that was limited to the human intelligence.
But how does it do it? How does the machine actually then do the task which only the human? What is the trick?
So it is like we use specific algorithms. In that algorithms, we use data sets to train the algorithm. So how the AI should react in specific instances, and using that the AI will give the output. And further, going deeper, we have machine learning, which in where the algorithm learns by itself from the data.
Can you describe to me the possible disruptive effect of artificial intelligence and cyber technologies on the security of a country?
Yes, sir, definitely if intelligence explosion happens, then the artificial intelligence machines will go out of human control. Recently, we have seen that in Google, 2 artificial intelligence based robots, they started speaking in their own language. They have created a separate language and they started communicating in that, which the researchers were not able to understand.
Oh,
It was like based on the artificial intelligence capacity, they had this capacity to create new languages. So they went a step ahead and created their own language.
when did this happen?
So recently, 2 weeks back, I read in newspaper.
I must Google it. I didn't
Yes.
hear of it. Okay, so then what happened? How was it sorted out?
So they have dismantled those robots.
They were dismantled.
Yes, as of now.
They were killed.
I mean, it means they have removed the kind of.
Yeah, so they were killed actually.
Yes.
Okay, so then they can learn on their own and they can be okay. What about the
Intelligence
cyber?
exposure.
And cyber technologies?
In cyber also, I mean, the basic concept of cyber is that the passwords and all that we have, they will not be broken by the human mind because lot of permutations and combinations should be done to break through the password. With artificial intelligence, the machine can, use these permutations and combinations to try all the possible things so that they can break through the passwords.
I see. So you can have artificial intelligence launching cyber attacks on the financial systems?
So definitely, if we train those artificial intelligence machines with all the relevant data and kind of expertise, then they can launch.
So basically it is better not to have artificial intelligence.
As such, there are many applications also, sir, for artificial intelligence. For example, specifically in disaster management, etc., where humans cannot go because of security reasons.
Okay.
We can use robots based on artificial intelligence. So we need to have a regulated development of AI.
All right. Now, have you heard about the Chinese or the developments in Ladakh, the Eastern Ladakh, Galwan Valley? Have you read about it? What can you tell me what happened there?
So there were clashes at the border, and after that the talks are going on between our militaries. There are around 7 to 8 talks.
No, but what happened in the Galwan? What happened in the Eastern Ladakh, first of all?
So there was a clash between the soldiers, field soldiers, in that around many of Indian soldiers were killed.
Okay.
And further, China is furthering the infrastructure development in the nearby border villages so that it can have a better way.
Do you know the names of the areas?
Pardon me, sir.
No. Okay. Okay, now you come to the talks. So the talks are taking place. And what has happened in the talks so far?
Sir, as such, recently we have seen that there were no large incidents of violence going on in the border. So the status quo is being followed as of now.
When was the last talk between the two commander level, between the two armies?
Sorry, sir.
You don't know when the last talk took place?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right. Keeping in mind that this is the last word, how do you describe the relations between India and China at this stage?
So the relations between the two countries, India and China, are more on the competitive part. They are trying to compete with each other in all fields. And there is a severe mistrust between the two nations.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sir.
There is a dispute between Andhra and Telangana on water. Which river it involves?
So both Krishna River and Godavari River. Recent disputes around Krishna River.
And what is dispute all about?
Sir, in 2015 there was an agreement made between both the states where 34% of water is given to Telangana and 66 to AP. Now Telangana is asking 50% of share by revising that. Further, there was a protocol that says that whenever you are releasing the water from dams, that should be only for irrigation purpose. During that only you can produce electricity. But Telangana has released water only for producing hydroelectricity rather than for irrigation needs. And there was also dispute because of construction of new projects like Reddy, Dandi, and new scheme like Rayalaseema lift irrigation scheme by AP.
Chief Justice has refused to intervene. What could be the reason?
So Honorable Chief
He said,
Justice
I'm
told
not
that,
going to listen. He said.
so he told that as I belong to both AP and Telangana, then I cannot reason it. And if you want, I suggest you to go for amicable settlement. If you want, I will suggest you for other judgment, other board.
So, do you recall that some years back, the police of Andhra and Telangana, they had clashed with each other on this issue? When it was?
Sir, it was in Nagarjuna Sagar Dam and Srisailam Dam. At both the locations, there were clashes happening because the control of the river management was shared by both the states. So because of that, there was few issues.
And Assam and Mizoram have fought each other? Obviously not on water. What exactly is the issue?
It was because of the border issues. There was a reserve forest there, and the settled border, around 170 kilometers of border, is still unsettled between the both states.
170 kilometer border.
Yes,
What does it mean?
170
all along
kilometer
there
length
is
of border.
all along that reserve forest is there?
Yes, sir, a forest.
Okay, I see. Supreme Court has given some guidelines on police reforms. I wish to know why there is no progress. Reforms guidelines have been issued. That was way back, long many years back. But actually, progress is not happening. What could be the reason? Do you know about the guidelines? How many guidelines are there?
That number I am not.
And which year it was?
Sir, Prakash Singh judgment, 2008, sir, as far as I can remember.
Okay, maybe a bit earlier, but doesn't matter. So, what were there in the guidelines?
So it was like a kind of accountability was sought upon the police forces, and also flexibility was given. For example, police establishment board to take upon the appointments, etc., so that political pressure will not be there on police. And further, police complaints authority, so that any person can complain on any illegal activities of police, so that they can also be held accountable. Further, a few provisions like usage of CCTV inside police station, and also sensitization of police at regular intervals, etc.
But that's very simple. Then every state must have already done it. Then why there is a general impression that the states are scuttling the issue? They are not doing it.
It was like lack of political initiatives mainly. It was because politicians are trying to have the police force under their control by controlling appointments, etc. Further, there is lack of funds also, which are needed for modernization of police forces. And further, lot of vacancies are also there.
But that must not be within Supreme Court's guideline. Guideline may not have talked about vacancies and funds. Or does it talk about it?
So it doesn't talk about vacancy, but the reason for which the
Oh, that's another matter. I see.